There's no doubt that rugby union is a brutal sport. It demands strength, courage, and a touch of madness. The players we're talking about today didn't just play the game. They reshaped it. They brought a level of intensity that forced teams to rethink strategies and inspired a generation of fans and players. First up, Eben Etzebeth is a name that strikes fear into opponents. At 6 feet 8 inches and 280 pounds, this South African lock is a mountain of muscle. But it's not just his size that makes him terrifying, it's his relentless drive. Etzebeth has over 130 caps for the Springboks, 2 Rugby World Cup titles, and a reputation as one of the best locks in history. His strength is legendary. He curls 75-kilogram dumbbells like they're toys and bench presses over 175 kilograms with ease. Etzebeth changed the game by redefining what a lock could do. Before him, locks were mostly about scrums and lineouts. Etzebeth brought explosive athleticism and a knack for disrupting plays. In the 2023 Rugby World Cup quarter-final against France, he turned the game with his relentless pressure, charging down kicks and smashing into rucks. His ability to read the game and dominate contact points forced teams to double-team him, opening space for his teammates. Off the field, Etzebeth's intensity carries over. Stories of him staring down opponents before matches are the stuff of legend. He's not just a player, he's a psychological weapon. His impact pushed rugby union toward a faster, more physical style, where locks aren't just set-piece specialists, but all-around game changers. Rewind to the 1950s, and you'll find Kevin Skinner, a New Zealand prop who embodied toughness in an era when rugby was raw and unforgiving. Skinner played 20 tests for the All Blacks between 1949 and 1956, a time when props were expected to dominate scrums and take punishment without complaint. At 5 feet 11 inches and around 220 pounds, he wasn't the biggest, but his strength and grit made him a legend. Skinner's defining moment came during the 1956 series against South Africa. The Springboks' front row was manhandling the All Blacks scrum. Skinner, already retired, was called back for the 3rd and 4th tests. He didn't just stabilise the scrum, he demolished the opposition. His technique and raw power turned the series, helping New Zealand win 3-1. Some say he even used his fists to settle overly aggressive opponents, a move that was quietly accepted in that era. Skinner's influence went beyond his playing days. He showed that props could be the backbone of a team, not just grunt workers. His scrummaging masterclass set a standard for New Zealand's forward play, which remains a cornerstone of their dominance. Without Skinner, the All Blacks' legacy might look very different. Henry Tuilagi, known as the Samoan bulldozer, was a force of nature. Standing 6 feet 1 inch and weighing over 260 pounds, he combined terrifying power with surprising speed. Twilagi played for Samoa and clubs like Leicester Tigers between 2003 and 2015, earning a reputation as one of the hardest-hitting players ever. Twilagi's strength was unreal. On the pitch, he was a one-man demolition crew. His tackles didn't just stop players, they sent them backward, often leaving them dazed. In a 2013 match against France, he flattened Mathieu Bastareaud, a 250-pound centre, in a collision that still echoes in rugby highlight reels. Tuilagi changed the game by showing that brute force could be a strategy. Defences had to adapt to handle his explosive carries, often committing multiple tacklers to stop him. This opened up space for his teammates, making him a tactical nightmare. His style paved the way for modern power-based players, proving that raw strength could shift momentum in an instant. Jonah Lomu, the unstoppable force. Jonah Lomu wasn't just a player, he was a phenomenon. At 6 feet 5 inches and 260 pounds, the New Zealand winger redefined what a back could do. Debuting for the All Blacks in 1994 at age 19, Lomu became rugby's first global superstar. He scored 37 tries in 63 tests, including a record 15 in Rugby World Cups, a mark only equalled by a few. Lomu's impact was immediate. In the 1995 World Cup, he ran over England's Mike Catt in a moment that became iconic. His blend of speed and power made him unstoppable. Defenders bounced off him or were left grasping air. He didn't just score tries, he changed how teams approached defence. Opponents started bulking up their backlines to counter him, shifting rugby toward bigger, stronger wingers. Off the pitch, Lomu's story was just as powerful. He battled kidney disease throughout his career, yet still dominated. His charisma and humility made him a global ambassador for rugby, growing the sport's reach. Lomu didn't just change the game, he made it a spectacle, proving one player could capture the world's imagination. Jacqu Burger, the fearless warrior. Jacqu Burger, Namibia's flanker, was the definition of heart. Standing 6 feet 2 inches and weighing 230 pounds, he played for Saracens and Namibia from 2005 to 2016. Burger wasn't the biggest, but his toughness was unmatched. He broke his nose multiple times, both cheekbones, and had 12 surgeries on his right knee and 3 on his right shoulder. Yet he never backed down. Burger's style was simple. Hit hard, get up, repeat. His tackling was ferocious. Opponents described it as being hit by a sledgehammer. In a 2011 World Cup match against South Africa, he made 26 tackles, many against players much bigger than him. At Saracens, he was the enforcer, setting the tone with bone-rattling hits that lifted his team. Burger changed the game by showing that heart could match muscle. His relentless work rate and fearless tackling inspired smaller nations and club sides to compete with giants. He proved that a flanker didn't need to be the biggest to be the toughest, influencing a generation of players to prioritize grit over size. Michel Palmi, a French second row from the 1970s, was a symbol of rugby's gritty era. At 6 feet 3 inches and around 240 pounds, he played 24 tests for France between 1975 and 1978. Known for his raw power, Palmi was a scrum and line-out anchor during France's Grand Slam wins in 1977. His aggressive style made him a fan favourite, but also a target for controversy. Palmi's physicality was unmatched. In a 1978 match against Wales, his relentless tackling and maul dominance helped France secure a rare victory in Cardiff. However, he was banned for life from rugby after a violent incident in a club match, later overturned. His no-nonsense approach forced opponents to toughen up, raising the physical stakes of international rugby. He changed the game by showing locks could intimidate as much as they contributed. His era saw forwards become enforcers, a trend still visible in modern rugby. Palmi's legacy is in every lock who plays with unrelenting fire. Jamie Cudmore, a Canadian lock, was a walking battering ram. At 6 feet 5 inches and 250 pounds, he played 43 tests for Canada from 2004 to 2016 and starred for Clermont Auvergne. Cudmore's game was built on physical dominance. His tackles and ruck clearouts were brutal. In the 2011 World Cup, he set the tone against Tonga with bone-rattling hits. Cudmore's strength was legendary. His aggressive style drew criticism, including a 2015 Champions Cup suspension for a high tackle. Yet, his intensity lifted teammates. He forced opponents to match his physicality, raising the bar for second-row play. Cudmore's influence made locks more than set-piece players. They became enforcers. His legacy endures in players who bring controlled aggression to the pitch. Chris Halafia, a Tongan number 8, was a powerhouse. At 6 feet 3 inches and 260 pounds, he played for Tonga and clubs like Harlequins and London Irish from 2004 to 2014. His explosive carries and devastating tackles made him a fan favourite. His ability to break tackles and gain meters after contact forced defences to adapt, often assigning multiple players to stop him. Halafia had a no-nonsense approach, and his highlight reel is filled with jaw-dropping, borderline illegal hits that sent shockwaves through stadiums. When he lined up a tackle, there was no escaping the impact. Whilst his disciplinary record was poor to say the least, serving multiple bans, his inclusion in any side would strike fear and intimidation into their opponents. Brian Lima, dubbed the Chiropractor for his bone-crunching tackles, was a Samoan legend. At 6 feet and 220 pounds, he played 64 tests from 1991 to 2007. His tackling was ferocious, one of his most famous moments, the hit on South Africa's Derek Hugard in the 2003 World Cup, a perfect example of his commitment to defensive destruction. Lima played with no regard for self-preservation, and more often than not, it was his opponents who paid the price. Lima's versatility as a winger and centre made him a nightmare. His defensive prowess forced teams to rethink attack strategies, avoiding his side of the field. Despite his size, he played with the heart of a forward, inspiring Samoa's fearless style. Lima's legacy is in every back who tackles like a forward. He showed smaller players could dominate through technique and aggression, changing how defences operate. Richie McCaw, New Zealand's flanker, was toughness personified. At 6 feet 2 inches and 235 pounds, he played 148 tests from 2001 to 2015, captaining the All Blacks to 2 World Cup titles. His 2011 World Cup final performance, making 18 tackles against France, went a long way to securing the William Webb Ellis Trophy. McCaw's breakdown work, stealing balls and slowing play, was unmatched. McCaw redefined the flanker role. His anticipation and speed made him a turnover machine, forcing teams to protect the ball better. His leadership and grit, playing through injuries like a broken foot in 2011, set a new standard. McCaw's influence made the breakdown a battleground. His legacy lives in every flanker who fights for every inch, shaping modern rugby's intensity. These legends didn't just play rugby, they rewrote its rules with every tackle, scrum, and run. Their impact still shapes the game, from the way teams prepare to the players they fear. Don't miss our other videos in this series featuring rugby's hardest, and if you think we have left anyone out, let us know in the comments below. Catch you next time as we get back to the rugby.